Hi everyone, Lisa here. This is the first of what I hope to be many videos where I explore or share about creative things that inspire me. I'm hoping to build a place where we focus on the good and focus on the positive rather than only on negative and drama. And good to me also includes like things that are artists that are using their work to protest some of society's ills and things like that. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, I am going to share a book that I read with you. Before I do, I have a confession to make. I've always been an avid reader, but for the past year and a half, maybe even 2 years, I haven't read anything. And that would surprise most people who know me. I read all the time. I've always had a book in my hand. But there's been something about the chaos in society, the whirling thoughts, my own personal struggles with some mental health issues and life events that made me unable to read a book. And I also feel like, well, I had been reading a lot on an e-reader for a while before that, and I wasn't taking in the books the same way. I struggled with it, and maybe that's getting older. Maybe that's a problem with reading on screens. And I'm not criticizing anyone who does. Who does. I said who does. I am not criticizing anyone who does. It's just for me that I have to limit the time, how much time I spend on there, and I still will read books there. But my goal right now, when I finally have pulled myself out of this and am feeling better about life and feeling not better about what's going on in the world, but feeling like more in control of things, I decided that I would conquer my to be read pile. And I know this is not breaking news, or this is not like something that a lot of people are doing this right now. It's something that I would really like to achieve because my house is filled with books that I still have to read. I probably have lying around in different places between 30 and 40 physical books that have made their way to me that I have not read. Some I may never read, but I wanted to conquer it. And yet, so I decided that I was going to start doing these and I was going to read TBR books. But then I made a mistake. And I went to a big bookstore the other day. It's a place where I often go to write because I do not feel guilty buying maybe one drink and sitting in their cafe all for hours and working on my own thing. Whereas if I do that in an independent bookstore or a coffee shop, I feel like I'm taking up space sometimes. And when I buy books, I try to go independent. But this time I walked in and it was this day that it was still chilly, and right now I have snow on the ground. Don't ask me why. I mean, I'm annoyed, but it was still chilly, but the sky was blue and the sun was shining, and it had that feel, that moment that spring is actually on its way. And I walk in and I look at their list of spring drink specials because I often will buy one of those. And right next to it, they had this display, one of those cases that hold like maybe 4 or 5 books across and have like 6 rows down. And it was all filled with the same book in a gorgeous pink. And I'm not a pink person, but this was the pink. This was the pink of memory. And so, yes, I had to buy a new book. And yes, this is the first book I'm going to review. What is it, you ask? It's The Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop by Takuya Asakura and translated by Yuka Maeno. Now, look at this cover and picture this in rows, just in rows of bright pink on a beautiful spring day. It's gorgeous. Talk about marketing, okay? A few things you need to know for why I picked this book. I spent time in Japan. I lived in Japan for several years in my 20s, and I have a, an attachment, or I'm often drawn um, things that represent Japan, to learning more to that kind of stuff. And I also have a vivid memory. My first spring, my first cherry blossoms, I had a really horrible day. My boss, I was teaching English, and my employer criticized me for something and I was feeling threatened. It was also that time in the cycle of, at least this happens to me, and I think it happens to a lot of people, when you first move abroad, you kind of are in this like high, 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 and then all of a sudden there's a, oh, what am I doing here? A little bit of homesickness. So I was kind of in that stage of things, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. I was young. I was frustrated. I was being blamed, accused of something that I had nothing, that didn't happen as far as I was concerned. And so I went by the river with the cherry blossoms in full bloom, and I sat there and I cried. I know I shouldn't have cried in public, but I cried, and I wrote in my journal, and I had like an angry conversation with myself, which probably looked insane because, yes, I do talk to myself. And then I looked at my surroundings, and the trees were gorgeous, and there was some falling, and there was some in the river floating by, and the ground was starting to be covered in pink. And I breathed, and I found, okay, the courage to move forward. And that is what this book reminds me of. I'm sure there's a Japanese word for it. I'm not 100% sure what it is. One thing that came up when I was trying to figure out was the term natsukashi, which means nostalgia. And yes, this book is filled with nostalgia, but not the nostalgia of old, like sometimes the word nostalgia kind of is, feels like a reference to old things, and it's not that. I'll try and describe it in a minute. There's also a phrase that I just found, a word for a wave of sadness in the middle of being happy, and it's mono no aware. Okay, so it's like that feeling of happiness and sadness. And again, this feels like that. The premise of the book is that the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop is not in this world. It's in an other place, and the only way you can reach it is if it's a beautiful spring day with the cherry blossoms in full bloom. The sky is blue, and someone has to open a book and read a passage from a book at the exact same time as the manager of the bookshop opens the same book and reads the same passage. So this is magical impossibility, or you know. And once that happens, the passageway to the bookshop clears, and the reader in the real world will find themselves at the bookshop. And then they take a journey into a memory, or into, they might, some of the characters have things they wish they could hear, want to talk to people from the past, want to understand a situation from the past, things like that. So basically, this is 4 short stories that are tied together by this bookshop, but in the 4th story, it kind of gets very meta and circles back, so everything is tied together, so it's not independent short stories. And it's so beautifully written. It is so visual, sensual. You can see it, you can feel it, you can smell things, you can, like, it's so gorgeous. It's a fast read, but it's slow in the sense that the pace is gentle and kind and sad and happy, and it makes you feel all those things, and it makes you think about things like life, past mistakes, memories, wishes, things like that you wish you could fix. And yet it gives you a sense of hope. I really, really recommend this book if you like something that's kind of magical and just makes you think, but in a gentle way. I can't describe it perfectly, but I just highly recommend this book. So if you're interested in a gentle read, please get The Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop by Takuya Asakura, which I just realized that sakura is the word for cherry blossoms. Asakura is not, and I don't know the kanji spelling of the name, but it just kind of works that way. And I will be looking at more books soon. The next one is actually not in my TBR pile. I've joined a new book club, and I have to read that one, so it will be a new book. But I can't wait to dig into my TBR pile. And or if you have any book suggestions, please feel free to send them my way. I just published a book that I'm very, very proud of. And I'll put an image of it right here in case you're interested. I hope to be back soon. Thank you.